In the AutoZone studios, AutoZone. Get in the zone. That ought to be a federal offense. That's Macy Gray.
Jesus God.
Her rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner.
And forgot the words.
We'll talk more about that. The NBA All-Star game yesterday was a little bit of shrieking going on there.
A little bit.
Kylie and Booms, Fox Sports Radio. The Olympics, of course.
Patti LaBelle ought to have a record deal revoked. In fact, sometime this week we got to track down her record company and ask them if they're proud of her going on national TV and butchering the national anthem. I thought Roseanne Barr was singing. And then the other two, Alicia Keys, she's about to win Grammys, I think, on Wednesday, with some other broad, did God Bless America or something with a whole other song woven in the middle of it. My chin was on the ground.
It was not good. That was at the piano.
Ah.
They were at the piano. They were at Elton's piano. Let me just tell people what's coming up here. We're going to have Charlie Casserly a little bit later talk about the expansion draft. We also have Kevin Emmerich, the head basketball coach, ladies basketball coach at Montana State Northern University. We got into it last week, the end of last week, with a young lady on that team, Sarah Gogler, and their athletic director. And then the dad called up and let us have it during that show. So we're going to get back into that next hour.
I own a $10 million ranch, City Slicker.
Charlie Gogler's Angus Ranch. He does actually own a $10 million ranch. So we're going to talk. We'll talk to those people a little bit later in the show. The big stories, of course.
More time raising his daughter instead of cattle.
The Olympics, the NBA All-Star Game. Marvin Lewis going to the Redskins now. This poor guy's been on an odyssey. But the NBA All-Star Game.
Yeah, and I have a question about the Pro Bowl too, because I did not hear Dennis Miller at the Pro Bowl.
It was stated in the newspapers prior to the weekend that Dennis Miller had a conflict with his own show that he tapes for HBO. He could not get to Hawaii. This was the excuse, anyway, that Dennis could not get to Hawaii in time for the broadcast.
Well, he does.
So they were going to hook him up. Well, I like to think that in an entire year, which is what they had to determine whether he had a conflict or not, something could have been done. To have it announced the night before or the weekend before, to me, was a little fishy. I did want to get to that Friday.
Yeah,
we didn't get to it Friday.
Well, let me say this:
he's a third of that broadcast crew.
Right, and Dan Fouts and Dennis, if you're listening, love you. Glad you didn't go because it allowed everybody to hear Dan Fouts and Al Michaels. And I think I'd rather hear Patti LaBelle do the anthem again than those two.
Well, that's unwatchable to me. The Pro Bowl is unwatchable under any circumstances. I turned it on Spanish. I listened to the Spanish broadcast for a half hour, and that was better. It actually, for a half hour, I thought they were actually speaking Spanish. But terrible show. Terrible show. The Pro Bowl is a horrible event, and they should get rid of the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, the name needs to be changed, believe it or not, to the NFL All-Star Game. The Pro Bowl doesn't register with anyone, never has. And it's at the end of the year and no one cares, but at least change the name to the NFL All-Star Game. Yeah,
they had Dennis by satellite at halftime, and they had announced that they were going to do that prior to the game. In fact, it was at the end of last week. We began the show by talking about the Olympics. We invite you to call about the opening ceremony, the Olympics as you've seen them to this point.
Are we too hard on Jim McKay? I mean, I don't know.
I'm not being hard on Jim McKay. I think Jim McKay himself
did the best he could.
Well, he would sit, if he looked at that tape, he would critique himself exactly as
he would know who he's looking at.
He's a pro, and he would not have enjoyed the spot he was relegated to, and the performance he put on. It was hideous.
Yeah,
1-877-996-6369, 1-877-99 on Fox if you want to call on Jim McKay.
And the opening ceremonies. Now, let me say there were other people who were a lot harder on McKay than you and I just were. In fact, Coach Mora was asked about what he thought of Jim McKay in the opening ceremonies. Here's what the coach said.
In my opinion, that sucked.
So he didn't like it either.
I'm wondering when we're going to retire Jim Mora.
Never.
And in my opinion, that sucked. John in Cleveland, you're on with Kiley and Booms, Fox Sports Radio.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, John.
You know, I think after watching those pregame ceremonies, Utah's no longer a dry state. There's no way in hell you could watch that and be sober. And I did pick up my Jim McKay drill cup at the souvenir stand.
My God.
I think that headband that Katie Couric was wearing was a vain attempt to keep her brain cells from leaving. I was waiting for Stevie Wonder to roll out with a microphone to do color commentary. I mean, the air stick bag fell down from my ceiling in my living room. I was ready to yak. And, I mean, I think the whole state of Utah, all I ever think of is that the Osmonds are a poster for birth control. I mean, that whole state, I mean, let's just give it to Canada and be done with it. But,
well, wait a minute. I like Utah. Utah's a great state.
John. Come on.
I got to give you guys credit. Even Kevin, even Trotsky.
Even
Friday,
Kevin.
Yeah.
Friday was the funniest freaking show. I wish I had it on tape when that guy got loose from his $10 million ranch. I mean, I'm glad to see that the Betty Ford Clinic now has phone privileges. I mean, that thing was absolutely hilarious. And Booms, you stood toe-to-toe. I mean, you guys are telling me that Montana State University Northern, okay? I have a feeling if you asked that broad what part of the state she resided in, she wouldn't know. I mean, I don't give geographical schools any credit, but that broad did send back, the Title IX about 50 years.
Wait till you hear it today. Wait till we thought it was one of the best things ever. Those were ones where we wish we were in the car listening.
We were in tears. We were absolutely in tears.
Well, the coach is thanks, Johnny. The coach is going to join us in a little bit, and you're not going to want to miss that.
Right. He's talking about Sarah Gogler, of course, from the women's basketball team, the former women's basketball team at Montana State Northern. They're upset and they don't want to play. Let's go to Gregory. Gregory, you're on with Kiley and Booms, Fox Sports Radio.
Booms and Kiley, what's up, guys?
What's up, Greg?
May I please piggyback off of that previous caller? Booms, you the man. You are the man.
I've missed you, Greg. You haven't called in a while. You're my man.
Being father kind of busy because I work midnights and doing dinner, having my children homework.
I've talked about you on the air when I've needed you. You haven't been around.
Booms, my son has told me because my son loves your show.
That's nice.
And Kylie, with all due respect, Booms, you are the reason I listen to the show. You are the man.
Believe me, I can understand that.
Booms, I would love to be at a dinner table with you, Larry Elder, Rush Limbaugh, Kenny Hamlin.
Oh, yeah, Kenny Hamlin.
I would just have... But anyway, living in Detroit, we can watch CBC Sports. Their coverage, in my opinion, is fantastic. I think Brian Williams and Ron McClain are equal, if not better, than Bob Costas.
Well, Jim McKay. How about Jim McKay? Did you want to...
I went back and forth a little bit. I mean, you were right. Cadaver is the word that's mentioned when it comes to Jim McKay. I was surprised. Jim McKay, give me a break. When I was eat baby food, he was doing the Olympics. I'm 45 years old.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you for your kind words about Jim McKay. Let's go to Deacon Mike. Deacon Mike, you're on with Kiley and Booms, Fox Sports Radio.
Booms, how's it going?
Deacon.
Good, man.
Hey, man, the only thing better would have made the opening ceremonies better is if they'd have wheeled out Ted Williams on a ventilator and brought out Howard Cosell's ashes, for Christ's sake. That was pathetic. I mean, come on. Katie Couric and Costas were stumbling over each other the whole night, and then you got McKay trying to throw in his 2 cents worth. I thought I was listening to my grandpa talk about 1940 when he was a kid and having to walk.
I mean, I thought, and I'm going to tell you this, I thought there was a chance he could die on the air.
Yeah, and on that guy that owns a $10 million ranch, if he owns a $10 million ranch, he should give up that scholarship and pay for his daughter's education, give it to somebody that wants to play for the school.
Yeah, there you go.
Guy's an idiot.
That's right. I like that, Deacon. Thanks.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Deacon Mike. Kiley and Booms, Fox Sports Radio. We're talking about the Olympics, and we'll get into the NBA All-Star Game and their pregame ceremony, which was equally hideous. Let's go to Dave. Dave, you're on with Kiley and Booms.
Hey, guys, how's it going?
What's up, Dave?
Oh, my goodness, it was Jim McKay or Death Warmed Over. I wasn't sure. Oh, my goodness.
Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, I haven't.
No. I mean, what are we going to do? Expect the hockey games to have Ronald Reagan doing the color commentary this week?
It's
crying out loud, man. Let the guy die in peace.
I've seen people, Dave. I have seen them drag people up to give them a tribute. Now, that would have been great. You drag Jim out there and bundle him up, and he could be freezing his ass off.
And everybody's saying nice stuff and then wheel him off.
And he wouldn't have to speak. But to make him a co-host... That is as poor a judgment. And you know what? Nobody wrote this up. Nobody.
The guy in USA Today, what's that guy's name? Hutstad or, he was saying he was good.
Michael Heisted.
Yeah, Michael Heisted.
Oh, my goodness.
Said McKay held his own. Yeah, he held his own catheter.
Well, shoot,
Yeah.
the first comment McKay comes out with, oh, I remember when I used to run this thing. Yes, back when the Olympics first started.
Yeah.
It looked like it was not the action. When we used to run naked. Yeah. The 100-meter dash. It looked, thanks for the call, it appeared that they had, number one, not rehearsed.
Right.
And when you have, look, I will tell you something. When you have $1 million or $2 or $3 or $4 million sportscaster like Costas, a $17 million news anchor woman, which is what Katie is, like it or not, and then an icon on the set, they all want the mic. Every one of them wants the mic. You have to rehearse. There has to be a pecking order. There was none of that. It was everybody grabbed for the mic and do the, and of course Jim was fading in and out as they were going along. It was
he made a noise
hideous.
at one point. He coughed or farted or something. And I thought Costas was going to go, are you all right? He went like, and they had wouldn't they turn his mic down?
Coming up, Tom Bradley from the Westminster Kennel Club at the dog show.